Hello, viewers. I'm sure all of you must have watched the Nirmala Sitharaman's budget speech. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Sanjay Rammoorthy, an old friend and a business journalist as well. And he also analyzed the budget in his way. I have also done my bit of homework. So we'll be sharing our thoughts on the budget. So basically, I think, Sanjay, the main headline is the big income tax relief announcement that she has made. Announcement, quote unquote, because how eventually it will benefit the taxpayer. He is yet to be seen, the small print is yet to be read, because if you compare the tables of previous regime and current regime, there has not been much of a change. It's maybe from 25% it come to 20%, from 30% tax liability it come to 25%. So people like me may be saving about 5%. So that is still, something to be analyzed. But I think she's kept the Delhi and Bihar elections in mind, which is, of course, the big political statement that she has made. And as I said, the small print is yet to be seen. Sanjay, what's your main take on the budget?
Uh, the way I look at it, BNK, and probably which is something that has been concerning me with many of the decisions of most political entities, is that it is a popular budget. It is a budget that is meant to please the people. I think, that with these various schemes, not only with the Delhi impending elections, but across the country, with a lot of freebies that were being offering, whether it is in terms of Ladki Behna, whether it was in terms of free bus transport or free, the middle class was feeling a little left out. They were feeling because they were not beneficiaries to any of these schemes. So I think, which is also one of the most consolidated vote banks of the current government. So I think there was a certain amount of appeasement that was done. Overall, the budget could have been far more stronger, considering that there are no big political or major elections coming, and that there was a third-term mandate. I personally expected it to be a far more revolutionary message, maybe a little painful for the people of India, but I think some stringent measures in terms of subsidy and manufacturing I was expecting. I feel that the budget was a slightly short of what the country needs at this point of time.
Now, talking of elections, I think Delhi elections are imminent. They're happening next week. Of course, this year, end of the year, maybe Bihar also will go to polls. So they have to win elections, Delhi election in any case, but at any cost rather. So probably that is one of the reasons to make that headline announcement of income tax relief, because an average income today in Delhi could be anything between 60,000-70,000 to 1 lakh rupees at the middle class level. So the no tax to be paid is a big relief, and putting so much of money in the pocket of the consumer to be able to spend, save, or even invest. So that's a big thing that to talk about rather. How much of it will be actually come into effect, which will be useful, is something yet to be seen. But Delhi election, of course, if they had to win, they have to win at any cost.
I am, again, not that I am a political expert, but I'm not too sure how much it will help the Delhi elections also. See, the point is that in a country like us, we are at a constant state of elections. Elections will keep happening, here. Delhi elections probably in terms of prestige, it's a very prestigious election, but in terms of
sheer
national
numbers, capital. It's a national capital, so
yeah. But in sheer numbers, it's a city, so the budgets and things like that, it was not a very large election. If it was anywhere else in the country, these elections were happening, it wouldn't have mattered much. Having said that, you're absolutely right that every election matters, but probably this was one time where, Delhi elections are hardly 2 days later. A lot of minds have already been made up. I'm not very sure how much this will only, and if this has been done only for one city kind of an election, the nation needs to be put first before anything else. Also, this whole gamble that the finance minister has paid of 1 lakh crore, which is the figure that has been floating around, and this 1 lakh crore will put disposable income in the hands of people, and eventually that 1 lakh crores will give impetus to the FMCG or the savings, and the money will come back into the system in terms of this. A lot of people are not very convinced. I, for one, am not very convinced about how much of it will come back. How the FMCG with the stock market diving after the last part of the election, the FMCG companies seem to be really doing well in the stock market because it's an impetus to them. Like Jubilant Foods and DMAT and all those scripts are looking well. But what you said is more important, even on the income tax regime, with two things are very important. One is once the fine print is clearly scrutinized and analyzed, and also the new income tax act that is going to be tabled in the parliament next week, which the finance minister just touched upon today. And what is going to be the fine print there in that income tax act, which will be tabled next week, will probably determine how much of disposable income it is going to give into people's hands. Because one thing all economists have been talking about, that there is a need to put money in the hands of the people, and putting money in the hands of the people is the only way that we will see some upside in corporate India.
Yeah, I was talking to my building sweeper today, young guy. He is maybe hardly 28, 30 years of age. He's still sweeping the buildings. His family is into that. His father is retired army haldar, and they are still doing the same kind of family job. He was telling me that the entire thing is totally disappointing, the way country is being run, because there are no jobs. And earlier, we at 12th pass, could join the army and do something, work for till the age of 55, 58, whatever. Today, even if he takes up the Agniveer, within 5 years, he has to retire. तो 18 साल का बच्चा 19 साल का बच्चा आर्मी में जाएगा, he retires at 24, 25. What will you do? So what I'm coming to is that there doesn't seem to be much on the employment push, job push, is something that is missing. Number two, skill development also. She touched upon here and there, the broadbanding, linking by broadbanding all the government schools in villages, improving on the content, etc., digitalizing the content. There is nothing on skill development.
She also mentioned the Atal Tinkering Lab.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Two things that have not been addressed at all is skill development and employment opportunities. We're probably facing one of the worst employment crisis, which a lot of people are not agreeing to. Second, if you look at it, is also although corporates are doing very well, the stagnation in the salary levels, especially at the lower levels of at the worker level, where there was some talk about how we will penalize corporates if they do not share their profits in terms of the right hikes. The top management of the organization, in any way ends up making their money, or even if you're an employee and you're in the top management, you seem to get your share of the pie. But somewhere at the bottom level, if that's something that the economic report yesterday also very clearly indicated, that the salary levels are not going up. Salary levels are not going up. I did not see some huge employment opportunity. Sure, there was some impetus in the MSME that there'll be more credit. Probably you can always extrapolate and say that because there will be those benefits are giving, some few people will get employed here and there. But you're absolutely right that I did not see anything very large in terms of employment opportunity. Another thing, BNK, I don't know if you noticed, is that there was very little talk about how we are going to, the current government has created some very, very good plans, Make in India, for example.
Yeah.
But if you look at Make in India for the world, what do you think? Did you see anything for the whole Make in India program?
That narrative doesn't come out clearly, because all along the years, ever since the launch of Make in India, maybe during the first 6 months, there will be a lot of halagulan, to talk about it. There is, I have not seen much, heard much in the budget. Number two, everybody talks about the Viksit Bharat and being the the most developed country by 47 in this not next 5 years or something. To achieve that, everybody says need to have a GDP growth of more than 8%. We are still at 6. Even to attain 6 at this year is going to be a tough challenge, because as you see in the there is not much impetus for the manufacturing. Only this headline point on the income tax relief is there. But there is much now about the The real estate, for instance, is one of the biggest employers. There's a huge shortage of, I was listening Hiranandani talking about it. There's a huge skill shortage. L&T requires 25,000 skilled people. There isn't much talk about that. There is only top headline management on the skill development, skill India, etc. That is the one. Number two, even as far as MSMEs and even the self-employed people are concerned, she was talking about credit levels being pushed up, credit card. Entire thing, is getting into a credit push, credit trap rather. Is credit oriented. I mean, you're making people to use a credit card, and then how do you generate consumption? Is the government going to help them with distribution? That is not same. Number two, what is it that's going to create the circular economy? There's not much about talk about that. I have not seen much about the even on focus on the environment as such, but there was some talk about non-agriculture permit being done away with for converting agricultural lands into the NA. That's a big blow because it's because not only is going to pay with the environment, but the farmer, he'll be induced to sell his land. Earlier, what used to happen is, Sanjay, if you have to sell a land, the farmer had to go to Tahsildar and to convince the Tahsildar that, I actually require the money for XYZ purpose. Tahsildar will have a couple of, meetings, sessions with them, try to convince them not to sell the land. Today, farmer will give up that land, he will blow up that money, and again, he will be landing in penury. And one more thing, Prime Minister also spoke about giving you these property cards, giving you the land ownership. And again, some of the people that they spoke in that Prime Minister session were the people who mortgaged their land, took money for renovation, repair, and buying some kind of a shop or starting a dairy farm business. How long the dairy farm business is going to run? It is cyclical, it is seasonal. And there is a lady who said she took the money and she wants to send her daughter for studies to Australia. I mean, that's a big trap.
BNK, you are still talking about people who are doing legitimate things. A few years back, if you look at New Bombay and how this land development of Pulve and all came across, I met a guy who owned, ancestral lots of land there. And he was telling me stories of how people have sold their land to Sitco for crores of rupees. And the only thing they're doing is drinking from morning to evening.
Yeah.
They are not spending their money anywhere. They are buying fancy cars. They're building big houses.
Yeah.
The money is not enough to last them or their families a lifetime. So there's a case study of a 25-year-old guy who got some 4 or 5 crores and who had not seen more than a few thousands ever in his life.
Yeah.
And at the age of 35, 40, he had spent all the money. His health was in ruin. His family was used to good things in life. So these are very, very real issues which are there. Another issue that I wanted to talk to you about, and especially, we talk about this MSME and these are small things. The Prime Minister, the Finance Minister made some points on identifying 100 agri districts.
Yes.
I was looking forward for something like identifying, 50 industrial oases across the country. If you had identified 50 industrial oases, because like you earlier said, one industry coming out in one rural area has such a ripple effect. Even if the project is on 5 acres or 4 acres, the next 200 acres gets irrigated in terms of money.
Yes.
So do you see that as a lacuna? Do you see that nothing happened there?
Yeah, obviously, because only one part she touched about. In fact, there's not much focus on rural employment at all. Well, she has been saying India lives in villages, etc. Everybody has been saying that. But how do you revitalize the tier 2, tier 3 and the rural economy? So
even if you look at yesterday's the economic
survey.
Economic survey, it says that our services sector is far outperforming our manufacturing sector, and services sector are still very urban in its nature. I mean, the metro, maybe the state capitals, and maybe probably the second city in that particular state. But the manufacturing, where we have worker surplus in our rural areas, have not been addressed. Another elephant in the room, or should we call it the dragon in the room, that is not being addressed. is probably the whole geopolitical situation that is arising out of this whole, the Trump taking over the presidency, and this sword of, the barriers, the import barriers that he's planning. And my own sense is that he will be harsh on probably China, Russia, Mexico. I'm not saying he will not be harsh on India, but he could probably be a little less harsher than China. And does that not give an opportunity for us to get into that market of manufacturing?
There is definitely that was an opportunity to invite foreign investment. Of course, there was talk about some talk on the cutting down the tariffs, import tariffs. That could be addressing the issues raised by Uncle Trump. But there is also another talk that Indian pharma companies can go to America and then finish their goods. Probably they'll get benefit there. But as far as the Indian economy and the Indo-US relations, not much has been talked about on the ground, on the front. Very interestingly, talk about Uncle Trump again threatening the BRICS countries if they opt out of dollar, business, they develop their own currency. Trump had threatened that suck up another, find another suck up. Jaishankar said, no, we are not going to get out of the dollar link. So that will
He's
continue.
threatening 100%
Yeah.
tariff. Yeah, I mean, Trump has been unpredictable. You never know the way he would go with. At least the other U.S. administrations, you knew that there was a plan and they would follow the plan. But I really felt that there is a huge opportunity, and I think you and I agree on that the manufacturing part would not only help bring in the right kind of money for India, both in terms of domestic consumption and in terms of export potential, but also since manufacturing could be done in land surplus rural India, where the whole ecosystem there would also benefit. I think it's a win-win, and I think very honestly, it's an opportunity missed, which I have not seen. And if you look at corporate India, and if you look at the way the markets have reacted today, have probably echoed that sentiment of no impetus. Of course, fortunately, we have one holiday or a market holiday tomorrow, and once the fine print is clearer, maybe we can avoid another bloodbath, as
in the market, yeah. No, but again, back to the manufacturing side. During Nehru's time, he started all these big industries, BHEL, all these heavy industries, etc. There isn't much talk about that. And on the contrary, whatever Nehru had set up, we have been, divesting government's interest in that and selling it away. There's a lot of criticism on that part. And because of that, the more and more privatization that is happening, private industry has not been absorbing any unemployed labor. There is because of course maybe could be skill issues, automation. For instance, Maruti.
See, also, no, I probably slightly disagree with you there, because that was the need of the hour at that point of time, and social.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying don't make the money. You make the money, but skill development, because a lot of factories have been laying off people. Maruti had sacked so many thousands of people. That obviously they say we don't require, they don't have the skills. So upskilling is something,
Yeah, but it's not only, it's upskilling and also probably technology, and the economic survey talks about how AI is leading to a certain amount of disruption. And I think with any disruptive technology, whether it is from the days of when electricity came, does leave a certain amount of manpower out in the loop, and reskilling. You very rightly said that although we have a Skill India, we have a Skill India mission, and we need to reskill our people. And I think learning is a continuous process. But you're absolutely right that very little has been talked about in this current budget on that. So my overall take, BNK, on this is that sure, the middle class could be happy, subject to the tax fine print. But overall, I think there was an opportunity here with the mandate, the political mandate that this current government has for the third consecutive term, to have done far better in terms of a long-term, what should I say, a long-term planning
Yeah.
in terms of, whether it is in terms of manufacturing. Of course, even on agriculture, as usual, because it's a very popular subject to talk about, I did not see much on, even if you look at it from a social point of view and leave the manufacturing aside, I didn't hear too much on health. I didn't hear too much on clean drinking water. I didn't hear too much on sanitation, education. I mean, IIT education is still, pardon the word, elitist. But in terms of primary and secondary education, apart from internet connectivity and other things, other very peripheral things, I believe unless they are there in the annexures for us to read at a later date. But I think a lot of issues, even if you look at social issues like clean drinking water and road infrastructure, usually you talk about what are the various roads that are coming across, what are the various bridges that are coming across, and these are something that you hear in budgets. And I felt I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear any of primary education impetus, secondary education impetus, skill development, like you very rightly said, healthcare. Primary healthcare, secondary healthcare was very absent in this whole budget. I hope, that I am wrong, and I hope I have to eat a very humble pie on Monday morning when a lot of this comes across, and I would be very happy to do that. But,
even health cover wise, the GST on the health insurance, etc. Of course, that is for GST council to decide. But the the finance minister could have given this expensive health coverage is expensive today.
Yeah, but when we are still talking about health coverage is very elitist. Yeah. I am talking about primary healthcare in villages. Right? And how many people have the insurance, and if you reinvest that whole money in India, you're talking to the top 10 or top 15 percentile of the country who has health cover. We're talking about you and me. We're not talking. But I haven't seen anything in rural healthcare systems and how the primary healthcare centers are going to be revitalated, free treatment and things like that. Insurance is a very different ballgame. But I think, like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I have to eat humble pie. I hope on Monday morning or Monday afternoon or even Tuesday, some of these things that we did not reflect in her speech, because the speech is much shorter than what the whole budget is about.
And around 15 minutes. Around 15 minutes.
So probably once the whole document is out and a lot of experts are able to study the documents, you and I will also probably spend a weekend reading the document a little more carefully. And maybe, at least me, will be, I think we'll be in a better position to talk about it a little more.
That is true. Otherwise, unless, as we said, the manufacturing, other things are given a big push to development, GDP. How does GDP come? Entire country has to work and really produce the kind of, and that also increases your per capita incomes, etc. Until that happens, the Viksit Bharat is going to remain a slogan. And until you achieve that 8% growth, you're not going to do anything. So Sanjay, I think we had a fairly good chat with whatever limited resources that we had from the finance minister's speech. We managed to analyze that. Let's see what happens next week when we get to read the final print, and let's catch up again after the finance minister introduces the income tax bill. Probably that will give us a little more direction in which the country is heading for.
Sure. As usual, a pleasure doing this. And look, let's do something when the fine print is a little more clearer also.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Namaskar and stay safe.